guys, guess what? It's time for a new curling tutorial. I think this is just becoming an annual thing because the trends change and how we do our hair, kind of evolves. So I'm gonna show you a few tips that I've been learning this last year because my style has changed, and then revisit some of the things I've already said in the past. Okay, I'm gonna try and keep this quicker than normal because I tend to be long-winded. But basically, we're gonna break our hair into 3 sections, number 1. I'm gonna use a 1 1/4 inch today, but you can definitely use a 1 inch if you're someone that you always say, my curl doesn't hold. Grab a 1 inch. Don't even touch a 1 1/4 until you've done a 1 inch and you've mastered it. Okay, this is the Hot Tools black ceramic. There's a few that I like. I'll put them in the description because there's a lot of good ones out there, but I definitely gravitate to one of a few. Number 1. On the bottom section, just split it in half. You never need to over curl this area. I'm going to show you the tips for 2 styles. So the looser curl that's like got the straighter ends, and then the bouncy curl that almost looks like a blowout look. So I think I'm going to do one on each side. Let's just run with that. Okay. So on this side, I'm going to do the bouncy curl, and on this side, I'm going to do kind of your standard wave. Okay, so the difference between the bouncy curl and a wave is that you're really gonna focus on your ends. This always scared me and why I shied away from the style, because I'm like, I'm gonna torch my ends, I can't do it. But it's really only staying on my ends still for the last few seconds. So you do want your ends to curl all the way through, just like that. And if you feel like you missed it, you can go and just grab your ends one more time. Okay, but whereas on the bouncy or the loose wave, we're gonna leave about almost 2 inches out because that's not the look over there. So I do like ribbon curls. I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm leaving my last bottom out, which on the bottom layer, I don't feel like it's a huge difference. You'll definitely notice more as we go up. Just took down my neck section. One thing I do every single time is I always brush out the section so that the hair is not tangled, because think about it, if I was about to iron a shirt and it's like got all these like funky creases in it, I'm not just gonna put an iron on it. I'm gonna try and smooth it out first before I iron it. I feel like it makes a big difference on how these look over the next few days if they're brushed out. Also, because when I do a ribbon curl, here, I'll do this style first. I like to keep the hair section totally flat like a ribbon, and that way it wraps around the iron really smoothly so it's flat. So I don't do the twisty thing. That's a totally different curl and just not what I'm showing. But I do wrap it, unwrap it, and then the bottom ends are more straight. That's up to you how straight you want them to be. Okay, I'm gonna do that one more time in this section. Another thing that I do is I always take a vertical parting, or I will take it at a diagonal. I do more of the diagonal on the top section, but the reason I do that is because I'm gonna keep my iron up and down like this. I'm not gonna turn it sideways. And I focus more on the middle of the section with a wave because my ends are more straight. The top isn't super voluminous, so I'm focusing on the middle, and the middle is what stays in the iron the longest. Now let's switch to this side. So I'm focusing again on the ends. So you see this shape, it's really full through the middle, and then it's gonna taper at the ends. It's not super bouncy on top. This look, instead of starting up high, I'm gonna start towards the middle to the end. I'm not gonna quite be at the end, so I'm gonna start in the middle. The other difference is that I'm gonna roll up the iron instead of starting in the middle, rolling it up, pulling it back down. So the middle to bottom gets the most heat in this style. And it's more bouncy curly. Think Shirley Temple. If you were too young for that, go watch Shirley Temple, you know what I mean. If you want an even bouncier curl than this, you'll still start towards the ends, but you'll turn your iron this way and roll it up. Think like how a roller set would go on your head. Hold it for a few seconds, click it out. It's even more bouncy ringlety. I do have this on the highest heat setting. If you're not comfortable moving quickly through the hair, put it more around like 320 or so. And if you just need to practice, turn your iron off and just practice. That's totally fine too. Okay, now I'm on my back section. This is kind of like the bottom where I say, don't worry too much about it. However, when I'm doing this bouncy curl, I am turning my iron completely horizontal. That was like having to ride a bike backwards for me when I was doing this style. It was very different than what I had been doing for years. But if I wanted that bouncy curl, that's what I had to do. But then on this side, I'm starting close to the base and I'm wrapping it back up. I heat up that section, then I pull it out, I heat up the next section, leave the very bottom out. There's your bouncy, there's your wave. So you can see as this is starting to develop, the shape difference. So this is gonna be a lot rounder as we get higher, and this is still gonna hold most of the curl here. They both are really cute, but it's an adjustment. Trust me, it took me years to finally just pull the trigger and make the change. Okay, this is where we really see the big differences on the top section. You can break this up to smaller sections if you want. Depends on your density, look you're going for. Maybe the length of your hair will dictate that, but the front piece matters. Okay, so on the wave side, I'm gonna over direct my section. It's totally flat towards the center of my face. I'm gonna go like this. Swing it forward. It should be in line with your nose. Unwrap, click through, unwrap. There's my curl. See how this looks? Memorize it. Now let me show you the difference on the other side. Now let me just say, you can do this type of curl on this side and it will still flow into your style if that's just what you prefer. If you want to bring this style home, it is different. So you're gonna start more in the middle. Again, you're gonna turn your iron almost horizontal, roll it up like a roller section. See what I did there? And then let it go. It's just a bouncier curl. It's shaped differently. It starts at a different place. I feel like it's a really great way for you to make a decision how you want to do your hair, to see it side by side. And I haven't figured out what I'm going to do later today to make it work because it's probably not going to look right. Okay, next section on the top. This is when I start to take it at a diagonal because I'm going to be over directing towards my face, which is also how these curls start so high up on the section. So you over direct, meaning that you pull towards your face, your handle swings forward, and all those things make your curls start higher up on the section. Boom, see? Super high. Okay, this is my rule of thumb. I'd say about 2 sections back or above your ear or just behind it. I rotate this curl for volume. So rotating, meaning that instead of curling away from my face, I'm curling towards my face. Same over directing, so now the handle's going to the back of my head. But I do this just so that all my curls don't run together and it gives me some height right in this section, which makes a difference. Because I'm not someone that teases my hair, but I was, in high school in the early 2000s, and that was the style. So I can't get it out of me. From there back, I rotate. So now I'm going back, and then if I was doing this style all the way around the head, I'd rotate again towards my face. But I'm gonna have to make a decision back there, which curl's gonna take over. So this side is going to set. Also, the only product I use now when I'm doing my hair is the Bouncy finishing spray. So it is a hairspray, but it's super lightweight, it's dry. Think about texturizer without the grit. So I'm gonna spray that just to help these set. And the way that you know that they're done setting is they are not warm at all. They are totally cooled off. I say do your makeup before you brush your hair out. Okay, so next we're going on this style. Remember how I was taking a diagonal section? I'm taking as much of a diagonal as my sectioning can handle. I would go horizontal, but oops, I'm not starting that high. I broke my own rule. Okay, we're starting in the middle, mid strand to end. I'm focusing on the ends. Then I'm rolling my hair up and letting it sit. These top curls are also the ones that if you do have pins and want to set them, it's totally worth doing. Highly recommend doing that. I don't change directions on this style just because it I don't know, it doesn't really fit. Okay, but I'm still taking very diagonal sections. I'm starting in the middle. This is one curl type where your projection, meaning where you're holding your iron, matters, because since I'm starting at the mid strand to ends, I can't really control where it's gonna sit, where the iron's gonna sit. So normally when I'm up here, I can control how close I am, meaning how high these curls are. If you were to be doing a traditional roller set, you'd be bringing it right above your head, rolling it down and pinning it right on top of your head. That's what this style is supposed to be mimicking. So knowing that I have a hard time if I start here, rolling it up, I can't really get on base. So when I get to my top section, I am holding my iron directly above the section and rolling it down because that's the only way I can get it as close to on base as possible. So I'm rolling this top section down just so you can see what I mean. So I'm behind my head, which is also something I don't normally do. but that way I can get still close to on base as possible so that if I were to click it out, I could still hold the curl and pin it up if I wanted to. When you're taking these curls out of an iron, you'll notice you couldn't pin it up. Like the way that they come out, that doesn't work. So a way to know that you're doing this right is if it falls out into like a coil and you could pin it technically, then you know you're doing that shape right. Okay, both sides are curled. I'm still letting this cool off. I've only sprayed it lightly with the Bouncy spray. And then you'll see when I brush them out, the two style differences. So I still love both, but I feel like I like to rotate between the two now just because I don't really color my hair anymore. I am on the once, maybe twice a year train, so I get kind of bored. And the only alternative is for me to make changes to my style. So I can style my extensions differently too. That's been really fun. If I want to like exaggerate how thick this is, I'll just grab my halo. And I've been doing this style more often. But the one thing that you have to let go of, which I understand, you're preaching to the choir, is that you're gonna lose some of your length on this side. But the alternative is that it looks so thick. So if you do have fine hair, you want to make your ends thicker, don't not try this because you're like, oh, now my hair, like it's normally this length and now it's even shorter. It's in style, okay? So you can try it. No one's gonna be like, oh my gosh, you don't have long hair anymore. Like I'm always blown away when I make my hair straight that I'm like, wow, it's actually getting longer. And I have not had more damage working on my ends. I still curl my hair maybe twice a week. That's the thing is I do the style and then I leave it alone. The hair is still beautiful the next day. It takes a different shape, but it's still really pretty. Okay, it's totally cool. Now we're gonna brush them out. I'm gonna use my Ensemble Detangler. I like this because it won't brush out the curl that I just did, just, you know, detangle it. But I always go up and out. So we're going this way. This was how I wore my curls for years and years and years. Okay, there's the one side. You see that opposite curl? That's usually my favorite one. Okay, so I could spray it. I can get a lot of volume out of this side. Now this side looks totally different. So I'll be honest, I do this mostly with my air wrap, but if you don't have one, you can absolutely use an iron and it still lasts a long time. See the difference? Totally different. So I have a lot of volume here. It's very soft, bouncy, you know, still great. And then this one is very voluminous, beachy. The volume's up here. So I thought you'd want to see side by side so you can decide which style you want to rock today. And tag me when you do it. And if you have any more questions, just those nitty gritty ones, put them in the comments. I'm always happy to answer. I got to figure out which side I'm going to pick today. So I guess you'll see later on my stories. But let me know if you liked it. Comment. Let me know other videos you want me to make. I'm happy to do it. Which one are you going to do?